What is the state of industry pertaining to AI, of course, in the MSME world?
I mean, if Coke and Pepsi do end up suing us because of this episode, I'll consider
very
it
happy.
a win. Yeah, because people are Coke and Pepsi executives from Coke and Pepsi are watching MarktPod.
Got Microsoft that has just laid off, I think, 3% of its workforce just a couple of days ago, 6,000 folks, all in the software engineering and like product management, product marketing, that category of jobs and roles.
Aakash coming in the papers and people running after him. But
we're going to hold him specifically responsible.
We should 5 years down the line, we're like, you said this.
We should take a snippet and attribute it to Aakash Borwankar and put it up as, a part of the description of this podcast. And this is not like a doomsday scenario. It's just that these sort of roles are no longer required.
I expected this episode to be a little bit gloomy, but so far I think whatever we have spoken about has been pretty good, in the sense that we've just ended up speaking about a lot of sort of evolutions roles will take, but nothing that will basically become completely sort of redundant. But I think copywriters and designers are need to be worried.
Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of the MarktPod. Third episode, 3 co-hosts for the first time, 3 different cities. So it's a big accomplishment. You guys are supposed to applaud that. We've got Tanoy, we've got Aakash, and we've got myself. So what we want to jump into today is basically the fact that we want to discuss AI. We want to get into the same discussions that are going on across the globe. Yes, AI has become a big topic and we want to see what impact it has. But we're going to take a specific slice of it on today's podcast. Tanoy is coming with an MSME view. Aakash is coming with a tech and a product management view. And I will be coming with a media and entertainment view. So we're going to discuss the impact of AI across these 3 industries, the roles associated with it, the concerns, both ethical and security. And, if you guys are from any of these industries, it will be a really valuable discussion for you. Getting right into it, the reason we have picked up AI is because of the boom in Gen AI. AI has been there for a very long time. It's been there since 1950, since the Turing test. But the main reason why we have got this discussion on board today is because Gen AI models have broken that Turing test. Right? The Turing test is basically something where a human sits across from a machine, has a conversation, and perceives that machine as human. So as of March 2025, we had 4 LLMs interspersed with a few human responders. Participants on the other side were supposed to have 5-minute discussions with each of these LLMs, and GPT 4.5 came with a 73% human rating, which was more than what some of the human responders were perceived as. So GPT 4.5 was perceived as human 73% of the time. And I think that's great because the Turing test has been comprehensively overcome by AI and we have a lot more to look forward to. So over to you guys.
Yeah, so I mean, why we're talking about Gen AI and why it's becoming such a big thing is that, we've had technological change, okay, which have disrupted industries before, okay. But why AI is the most significant disruption to the way the world works is primarily because in the past, human creativity has been considered a trait that is almost undisruptible. Okay, it's been a uniquely human trait, so to speak. But what AI is threatening to do is that it is threatening to disrupt human creativity. Okay, and jobs of all kind, both independent, salaried, are already being threatened, and it's going to, I mean, we are getting advancements on a daily basis. I mean, yesterday only Google had a huge event where they just showcased a bunch of new AI products.
Yeah.
Right. So, we should talk about, and throughout this episode, we are going to talk about 3 possible scenarios, okay, where basically the working economy could be heading into. Okay. So, number 1, which we are already seeing, is AI assisted innovation. So, this is great. I mean, we are seeing it right now. It's essentially AI has given people the capacity to sort of, let's say, for example, they had an idea, but they weren't able to sort of execute it due to lack of skills, lack of funds, whatever. Right? AI has suddenly put that sort of it's surpassed those barriers, and it's put those sort of execution in the hands of such people.
Right.
For example, let's say, for example, I'm an entrepreneur. I am working in a particular domain, and I have an idea. I understand a very domain very particularly properly, and basically I can see there is a gap in the market. I have an idea how to fix it, but chances are, let's say, and I want to say introduce a SaaS product to fill that hole, right? I have to go and look for a coder who can help me with it, okay, or hire a different kind of some kind of sort of software development agency to sort of come in and execute my vision. I am down easily before I have started basically making money or anything like that. Also, I am down easily anywhere between $10,000 to $50,000 depending on the complexity of my product. Okay. Now I can go on to tools like Lovable, Cursor, stuff like that. I can start because the idea is in my head. I know what features are needed to bridge a hole. I can sit and just type it out myself and basically use a freelancer developer to sort of just take me over the finishing line, having built majority of the product myself. So this sort of AI assisted innovation is something we're seeing right now. We're seeing that if across all functions, marketing, sales, design, tech, right? Media entertainment, which has been a very big topic. So that's essentially one of the things we are talking about. Number two, which is slightly more dystopian view, and it should be worried about, is that AI and machine sort of creativity, so to speak, okay, starts monopolizing and phasing out human creativity. So that is a thing we need to be very careful about, because like human creativity, what people will start to do is they'll start relying too much on these generative AI tools, right? And the ability to think creatively yourself reduces, because I can just type in a prompt and ChatGPT, for example, will do everything for me. Or if I have a visual in my mind, or I don't have a visual in my mind, I can brainstorm on ChatGPT, put it into Mid Journey, I'll get my result, right? And this is a danger, because the fact is that the intellectual property laws in the world have still not caught up to, so to speak, the AI explosion of AI sort of content we are getting right now,
Correct.
right? So this is one very dangerous, and I would say it is a very real possibility, and it's possibly already happening in certain sectors. And the third scenario is that in certain sectors, okay, human made products, like purely human made products, will start commanding a premium, because everybody is creating AI products, AI content. All the output is so heavily dependent on generative AI, that then people might look in certain sectors ki, okay, can you create a human made product for me? We will appreciate that more, and probably that will be costing more also.
No, and that
So
makes sense. This point
yeah,
number three, I'll tell you why.
correct.
Because this has happened in the past in other cycles in other industries. So when mass production of factory output started, now you say mass produced furniture, take IKEA for example,
Correct.
right? The cost between that versus handcrafted furniture is something very different today.
Correct.
People sell handcrafted textiles, handcrafted furniture at a premium, because both these industries, textiles and furnitures, have factory produced outputs.
It's the
So
same
you take
concept.
a Zudio, for example. Zudio is so very cheap. It has multiple styles being produced almost every single day. And then you'll have like these boutique shops which will probably produce something that might look similar, but they'll say, no, the material used is premium, and there is this artist touch, and there'll be like some design which will be handcrafted by someone, and they'll premiumize it. They'll charge it at a
Correct.
premium. Whether or not it commands it, I don't know. I'm not good at shopping, but yeah, this is what I've seen. And I think the third point you mentioned about AI, that is somewhere we will be headed at some point in the future. Human created content will be at a premium. That makes a lot of
Correct.
sense.
And I think that these three scenarios, it's not like we're going to end up in one particular scenario. I think it's going to depend from sector to sector, role to role, on a micro level as well. And basically, I think today let's just discuss. I mean, we're all going to be talking about our specific domains and our specific specialities.
Yeah.
And I think we'll sort of keep coming back to these three scenarios, and maybe throughout this discussion we can make sort of predictions as to which scenario which particular sector is fitting into.
Fair. So I think with that, we'll finally give Aakash a chance to speak. But yeah, coming into our first, first chapter of the day, we want to talk about the impact of AI on an industry level, what we all are seeing at an industry level. So Aakash, buddy, over to you. And please let us know what you've been seeing, and let's work on that.
Yeah, you guys have been stealing my thunder a little bit here. So, I mean, you raised very good points, Tanoy, right? And you're going to, I think our audience will hear that as sort of a recurring theme across everything that I'll say at this point. And I'm sure there'll be some overlap with what you guys will offer as a point of view for what you're seeing in your industries. So let's talk about that, right? So I think there are, with the advancement of AI, right, we're seeing 5 sort of growth areas, let's say, in the industry, right? One is, you've talked about Lovable, you talked about how Claude is another model, Cursor is another sort of Gen AI model that's kind of being used a lot. So there's that emergence of the entire new category of AI-led companies that is causing a boom in the industry, right? Lovable is a fantastic example. Bolt is another example. These are 2 companies that essentially assist in full stack app development, right? Granted, like, they're not fully autonomous, that you can't just put in a prompt and build out the full app, but they're really good to build out an MVP at least.
Right.
That let's say product managers can potentially use to test out their ideas and concepts, right? So that's one area of the market. The other is basically agentic AI. I think that term is coined by what's his name, Andrew Nug, and that's basically helping with greater automation across different tasks. You have smaller companies actually centering around offering that. So what agentic AI is, for the uninitiated folks maybe in our audience, is let's say you want to book a hotel or something for a place you're traveling to, right? The current process stands that you'll, let's say, go to booking.com or Expedia or something like that, hunt for a spot for those specific dates, make the booking, then look for your flights, so on and so forth, right? With the agentic AI, essentially you put in your prompt, you put in your request saying that these are the dates, this is the general area I want to stay, this is my budget, and then it will basically automate the rest of the process, where it'll go through these sites, make the booking, and then basically give you the final invoice that everything's done.
Basically what you're saying is that our wives can use agentic AI to plan multiple annual vacations, and our savings can take a hit much more faster.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah. No, but like the booking in itself. So that is something, like, I know that agentic AI can take actions, but my question to you is that we've reached a stage where, say, an itinerary is given to us, and say it gives me a 5-point itinerary for, say, a 10-day trip, saying you can spend 2 days at each of these places.
Yeah.
And say if I like place number 1, 3, and 4 on the list, can I just go ahead and say, okay, 1, 3, and 4 is good to go, make these bookings for me? Are we able to do
Not
that?
at this stage. Not at this stage. So, I mean, it's depending on, how many APIs, who's willing to throw out there. But I think we'll get there. Right.
But
so
I think that is already. I don't think we're very far away from it, because I think I don't know if you guys heard about this tool, which is still right now in a wait list sort of thing, but it's called Manus.ai. Essentially, it's a general agent. Essentially, it's supposed to do what you guys are just saying. That okay, I'll just go to Manus AI. I'll say, "Acha, do this booking for me and give me an itinerary."
Okay.
So basically, it'll give you the best and say, I want, this is my budget, and this is essentially what I don't want to spend more than this, so to speak. It will go, it will physically go open these apps on your computer, these websites on your computer. It will do, you can see it actually searching in a separate window on the side,
Right.
going through multiple things. It will go to a particular website. Okay, this is the best deal that I've got. This is a proposed itinerary.
Okay.
Which one do you want? Which of these things sound like your sort of thing? And you can say, I want a more chill holiday. I want a more holiday filled with adventure. I want a holiday where I want to explore this area better. So accordingly, it will give you multiple itineraries. Then you can say, okay, I want to select. I want to go to place number 1, place number 5, place number 10, something like that. On these days, I just want to chill in the hotel. Here, I want to go to some more chill place, stuff like that. And it will then sort of readjust and go to all these things, and then you can say, okay, go ahead and make the bookings for us.
Okay. Okay.
And ideally, in theory, it's supposed to. So I think it's still in waitlist and still like a sort of beta phase, but as in there is a lot of excitement about this essentially. So these kind of more general agents is, I think, where we are also headed towards, because even Y Combinator is very actively putting out sort of videos saying we are looking for more vertical agents, we're looking for more general agents, or a cluster of basically a company that heads a cluster of agents who can talk to each other, so to
Ah,
speak.
okay. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big thing in media and entertainment as well. And probably we'll touch upon that later. But Akash, question back to you actually. So with the fact that AI is becoming so it's permeating. Basically, everyone uses AI.
Yeah.
It's become more than just a expert-led conversation. It's a dinner table conversation. You'll have uncles in the society talking about AI, even though they might not understand it to whatever extent we do. But what I've also been reading is the fact that this comes at a huge energy cost. So there have
Oh,
been
yeah.
these viral posts about how each query costs you so much energy and you should not use AI. I don't know if that's just a PR campaign or it's reality, but yeah, like if you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So, sort of before I come to that point, and I'm going to get to it, I want to talk about just a layer above the energy requirement, right? Which is basically the boom in the infra to support AI, right? Which is driving that energy, right? So, servers, GPUs, chips, right? The general theme is that in order to support us. Okay, mixed up two words there. Long day. In order to support the compute power required for all of this, right? I mean, that's what's really driving up the energy. So chips are getting bigger, they're getting hotter, right? You basically have servers with 20, 30 GPUs stacked together, all put together. Now I know this because I work in Dell. It's kind of part of my job. But the point being that that's really helped companies that are providing such solutions like Dell, HP, really grow their demand. Despite sort of the consolidation in that industry, because let's say 10 years ago, let's say even a laptop could do, right, with the best graphic card 10 years ago. Now it's something that a much cheaper laptop in today's terms can do with a much sort of low-line GPU, right? So gaming so for example, I used to love playing Devil May Cry. My laptop back then, I needed to kind of buy a top of the line laptop to kind of support a game like that. Today, a budget laptop can play that same game from 5-6 years ago, right? So it just kind of goes to show the advancements that are happening there that are supporting the sort of compute boom. Anyway, to answer your question about energy, right? There was a interview with a U.S. senator, and I'm quoting his numbers, right? So basically, the amount of energy required to support 1 million people, so 10 lakh people in a given city, is approximately 1 gigawatt of power, right? Now, 1 gigawatt is essentially 1,000 megawatts, right? Now, in about 4 or 5 years, by 2030, the estimate is that one singular data center will require more than 1 gigawatt of power because of all the AI assisted sort of technologies that are coming into the picture, right? We are talking about one single rack of servers, which is generally anywhere between 15, 20 servers to about, if you're going dense, then about 120 servers, maybe about 100 servers at the most. That itself consumes north of 150 kilowatts, 200 kilowatts, maybe even higher, right? A one rack is not a lot of space. So you can imagine how much this is going to exponentially grow as companies continue to kind of innovate in this particular space.
And just for context, for what Aakash is saying, guys, 1 gigawatt, 1 gigawatt can power approximately 750,000 to 1 million homes. So that's essentially the level of energies we are talking. So just to give you guys a little bit of context.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, I have nothing else left to say. It's huge. But fair. I mean, I think it is a very energy intensive process, and hopefully we come out the other side without burning ourselves too much.
You had Sam Altman saying, right, when those Studio Ghibli images were going viral, that their GPUs were literally melting. That's why.
Fair. Okay, but I mean, I know we've been discussing about what it means for tech, and I'm sure there's a lot more it means for tech as well, which we'll probably cover at some point or the other. But when it comes to I'm going to take a very contrasting view. So we're talking about big tech MNCs, and I'm coming directly to MSMEs because it's the other end of the spectrum, and I think it'll be very interesting to hear from you, Tanoy. That if this is what AI is doing to tech and to MNCs in general, because I'm sure it's across the board, what is the state of industry pertaining to AI, of course, in the MSME world?
So it's an interesting time specifically for MSMEs in general. I'll talk about creators, the creator economy and the MSME economy overall. So see, I think for the creator economy, it's great. I mean, creator economy is growing. I know we're one of the fastest, currently worth 14 billion across the world. And I think AI is just a great thing for creators overall. Right. I mean, just like, for example, if it comes back to the same thing. If a creator, I can produce way more content than I had the capacity to before. I can if I can any more ambitious sort of ideas that I have suddenly within my grasp from a time perspective, from a cost perspective, right? In my as a creator, for example, the cost of creating these videos also has come down drastically because of AI. But yeah, I mean, one thing that is again this if it wasn't already heading towards saturation, it definitely is going to hit it now very fast with the course of AI. Because I mean, if anybody, I mean a kid with decent verbal skills can now use AI to sort of become a creator and start basically producing videos, for example.
Right.
And so the competition's even more sort of even more, I would say, more difficult now. So yeah, I mean, from the creator's perspective, yes, it's great. Okay, but yes, you have to be able to find your own sort of voice. That's, I think, the most important thing.
So actually, that's a question. So before you go to MSME, that's my question. So the fact that you said that because creators now have access to AI and ambitious projects, which were previously maybe high budget, high intensity projects, can happen more easily. Does that in any way bring down the value of the content? Because if I, like you said, if a kid has AI, I can shoot myself with maybe an exotic, background location, whatever. And you can, if I want to talk about the pyramids of Giza, maybe previously a creator went to the pyramids, was there, shot in reality, spoke to locals, and now I can just speak about the pyramids of Giza with the same images floating in the background. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's equivalent, but I'm saying, does it bring down the value of the content being created because there's just so
Uh,
much?
like it does, but here's where platforms like YouTube, Instagram algorithms come in.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, a few months ago, YouTube had its main event. Okay, where they talked about what the future of the platform looks like and stuff like that. And because of more AI generated content, YouTube, I think now is putting a premium on uh, genuinely. They basically now want to. They don't want. They're done competing with Instagram. Done competing with these other social networking sites. They want to directly compete with OTT platforms
Okay.
like Netflix, straight
Yeah.
up. So essentially, what they're saying is that, yeah, the Instagram can head towards more shorter content, reels, this kind of stuff. That's fine. We also have YouTube Shorts. It'll keep going, but what we are going to put a premium now on is high production, multi-episodic content.
Okay.
So essentially, top creators, as you can see now, you will see with Mr. Beast, and there is that Ice. I don't know. I have not followed him ever, but his name is Ice Show Speed or something like that.
Oh
They're
yeah, yeah.
all sort of announcing their own shows
Right.
being put on YouTube. So that is how, even because of and this is an impact of AI, because AI assisted content has become so easy and
Hmm.
the overall quality of content is coming down. YouTube is saying, okay, you produce that. We'll, like, our platform is open. You understand the algorithm, you exploit it. You can build your reach on it, no problem. But what we are going to put a premium, or what we are going to push, is sort of the top creme of the creme content.
Okay.
And we want more episodic content, we want more sort of high production content coming across our platform, because we've won the sort of social media sort of space. Now we want to basically target, we want even more of the human attention. Essentially, that's essentially what
Fair.
YouTube is saying, for example. Coming back to MSMEs, it's a
Hmm.
very exciting time as well, but depending on what kind of MSME. So if you're sort of you're into manufacturing, you're into retail, you're this, for MSMEs, it's a great time, because you can, AI is now bridging the gap between, let's say, uh, big players in a particular sector.
Okay.
Okay. Because obviously they have more resources, they're able to do more, they're able to offer more services in whichever sector you can say. But let's say, for example, a small, more boutique firm would not have been able to sort of being able to, simply because they don't have that much spending power to sort of achieve that available output.
Okay.
AI is leveling that game. So it's great time for, AI is doing that in that sense. So provided MSMEs are able to take that advantage of AI, they're able to pivot their entire workforce into using AI and generating better outputs. That is essentially what, from an MSME perspective, the sort of sector, I would not say sector, but the type of MSME that is in danger, I
Hmm.
would say, are agencies.
Okay.
Uh, Agencies inherently have had, are basically, the majority of their money has come from more labor intensive work, in the sense of sort of production of content, production of visuals, production of this. So yes, they do more strategic work, coming up with campaigns, that kind of
Hmm.
stuff, but majority of the sort of money that they build comes from all these sort of things.
Okay.
Now, with the help of AI, their clients are going to produce all these things in house. So, I mean, if agencies are not able to pivot fast, they will see their work evaporating much faster. Because, let's say, if it used to take, for example, let's say, simply take to produce a proper blog, okay, for an agency, let's say a content writing agency, to produce a blog, it would say take 3 days. Now ChatGPT can do it in like 10 minutes. You can do with some iterations. You can do a little bit of editing, this kind of thing, and you can
Right.
have a good SEO compliant blog ready in say an hour's time.
But
Right?
then once again, for this,
Yeah, yeah.
when you talk about AI being able to produce content, so there are two facets to this that I've been reading about. One is the fact that because AI can produce content, once again, there is a lot of content out there. Like, say, if I take plant care, for example, every single nursery is going to be able to develop their own plant care blog or toolkit, whatever you call
Correct.
it, using AI.
Correct.
Of course, the ones who know how to use it.
Yeah.
And secondly, because of the fact that AI has sort of changed the way people search. Now I don't look at various links, I look at summaries or I look at long form answers. And now Google has the summary thing on top, which sort of basically has broken the click through rates for all these sites. Yes, I have AI, but I think it's becoming a little paradoxical that more AI is leading to less content consumption simply because there is more garbage out there with people producing blogs in a minute or so. So how how are agencies going to be able to help combat that, or are they going to be able to help combat that?
So that's actually where if agencies want to remain alive in the new sort of AI world, they are going to have to pivot very quickly, and the ones that will survive will be the ones who will pivot quickly. So, like you said, saturation is going to hit like levels we have not seen before.
Yeah,
Okay, in terms of content, in terms of sort of any sort of creative work, that is where the agencies will come into this into will they'll become more, instead of execution partners, they'll have to become more strategic partners, in the
okay,
sense that for example, you are a you're just basically you're I'm the agency, you're my client. Okay. You've been coming to me for sort of production of designs. I've been producing designs for you. I've been producing presentations for you. I'm doing SEO content for you, so to speak. So far, this is in the
right,
pre chat GPT days, right?
right,
Now you are seeing that you can hire a couple of junior execs, interns, etc. in house, and you are being able to produce, at least in quantitatively, the same level of output
correct,
your agency was producing for you. So for you it makes sense financially ki, okay, I'll move everything in house, and like I don't need the agency anymore, so to speak.
right,
That's essentially what is happening right now, right? And it will continue to happen at a more larger scale soon with more and more services. But uh, the saturation point is that everybody is producing crap. Okay. So essentially, will be anybody be reading your content? So how do you get people to consume your content? How do you get people to consume your product? How do you break? Is basically through creative insight, through sort of like unique ideas, which
right,
AI is still not able to replicate,
right,
through proper strategy. Okay, through proper brand strategy. For example, if you're launching a product and you want to go to market, I can do a lot of things with AI. Okay, AI will give me a very generic step by step to go to market for with my product,
correct.
right? But there'll be 10 other products also doing the same thing, aiming to get to market in around the same time.
Hmm. Fair
So
point.
where the agencies will come in, they'll have to become more strategic partners, offering that more unique insight, so that one product out of 10 products stands out from the crowd
Okay.
And not
and
just
essentially
that, I
captures more
mean,
market share. Yeah.
not just that. I mean, we talked about this in the last episode too, right? Like
Yeah.
with the content saturation sort of rising,
Correct.
community led marketing will also become extremely important.
Yeah. Correct.
So there's maybe an opportunity there for agencies to sort of come in and help sort of guide and grow those communities. And I think it's this was also pre-AI, where we talked about growth marketing becoming sort of this new fad, and a lot of people looking into that as a career option. I think that is where an opportunity also lies for a lot of these agencies to kind of potentially pivot one of their verticals
Right.
to help continue staying relevant and offer their services.
No, and the community led marketing thing makes a lot of sense, because I think a lot of companies that we are seeing, they're building their strategy on something they're calling user generated content. You need to ensure that your customers, your fans, or the people who engage with you on a regular basis are the ones who help you generate content, because that gives it two sort of feels. One is, of course, it gives it a, you get sort of like a pat on the back saying that no, these guys are generating content for you, means you're doing good work.
Correct.
And secondly, it not leads, sorry, it lends a certain amount of authenticity to the content being developed. Because picture perfect content, like Tanoy said rightly, is very easy to develop with AI nowadays. So it is this slightly, marred content, for lack of a better word, which is generated by users, which is sort of adding value, which I think is going to become very important both for individual creators to sort of grow their community, as well as for these brands. And when it comes to the point of YouTube becoming a separate platform, actually that's a big thing. That's a big thing in media and entertainment itself. And when this whole AI thing came, it also coincided due to different reasons, but I think AI fueled the fire with the writers and the actors strike.
I was just going to ask you that what
yeah.
has been the perspective? Like, I mean, we've heard a lot more about the M&E impact in the news than we have heard about these other sectors. So, what is exactly happening on the ground level right now with the rise of AI?
Yeah, so the thing is very, I don't know if it's funnily or not, but the moment AI came, the first thing it went for is creativity. There's these memes saying that, I want AI to sort of do my daily tasks, fill in my Excel, clean my kitchen. I don't want AI producing songs and writing scripts, because that's supposed to be what we do once we finish all these base level tasks, Maslow's hierarchy and all that.
Yeah.
But that's what happened. The fact that AI was able to generate so much content, and that generation capability sort of hit the media and entertainment industry really hard. And that's what led to the strikes, because writers were very worried that, we are going to be eliminated from the first drafts of scripts. If some director or some producer has a concept, instead of going to a writing team, going to some quality writers, sitting with them, brainstorming, they'll just enter the entire concept into maybe a LLM, get some sort of output, fine tune it for a bit, and the first draft is done. Take that first draft to actors and get them on board, and then maybe hire a writing team to sort of take it forward. And that's what led to the strikes. The second thing, what happened in the industry was there was suddenly a certain paranoia, because nobody was aware of how these AI models know so much. See, it was on the back of huge stacks of data, right? And this all happened in stealth. Nobody knew that their data is being used to train these models. And finally, these models come out. They've been trained on multiple sets of data, and companies started getting a little scared, because they felt that the money or the revenue that's being generated, which is basically through exclusivity of them owning the content, is now being dissipated through AI.
Yeah.
AI has already been trained on all this content. How did they fetch this content? Where did they get access to it? And that's what sort of caused a mass paranoia in the M&E industry. Also, when AI launched, we were, we have something across industries which we call the Gartner hype cycle. Any new tech that comes up, in the start, people explode and talk about all sorts of possibilities, things that you might not see for years after the tech has, debuted in the market. So people start talking about AI generated movies, people started talking about AI generated personas, and that's what then started hitting the actors. Correct. Where they were like, oh, you know what? So are you just going to probably create a digital clone of me, and instead of paying me, get that clone to act? The AI was nowhere close to ready for that. It wouldn't have done that. It still is not. Okay. There are people who've been trying very hard to create digital clones. The closest they've got is very good deepfake videos.
Yeah.
Okay. And that sort of created a lot of political upheaval. But you can't have someone do an entire Forrest Gump, for Indian viewers, Lal Singh Chadda, even though it was a much, much worse version. But you can't have someone do that. You can't have a digital clone do that today. We are not there. What you can have, and what AI, I feel, is positively impacting in the M&E industry, is a couple of things. One is the localization of content. So whether it's ad campaigns, and hopefully now it will go to TV series and movies, and whenever content is being created, subtitling and dubbing has always been there, but with AI, that process is becoming much faster, and therefore that content is able to expand all over the globe much faster. You've got AI working on automatic subs, automatic dubs. Not only that, I believe it was a Coke or a Pepsi campaign. Those companies are going to kill me because I'm comparing them. But they had a lovely nuance added where basically the same campaign shot in the US, the same campaign shot in the Middle East had different actors as well. So the ones in the Middle East were actually wearing a hijab, and that sort of localization adaptation to cultural nuances is something that AI is going to be able to do really well. So that is one area where it's going to have a lovely impact on M&E. The second area is
If Coke and Pepsi do end up suing us because of this episode, I'll
we'll be
consider
very
it a
happy.
win. Yeah, because people are Coke and Pepsi executives from Coke and Pepsi are watching MarktPod. But yeah, please go on. Yeah.
Yeah, so that and that's how localization AI has helped. The second place where AI helps is utilizing archives. So most of the money, whenever anything is shot, most of the money is made on the first release. There are some shows that have become really famous, like Friends and Big Bang Theory over the years, and they've been continuously re-licensed. But a lot of the content just sits in archives because one, people don't want to sell it for free outside, of course, but two, they don't know what to do with it. But with AI, now this content has been started to being reutilized very effectively. And people are creating shorts, promos of very old classic content that people like watching. What also is happening, say for example, I'm taking the Witcher series for example. Season 1 launched a few years back, then season 2 launched after a gap of a few years. And people, there were two kinds of people. One is fans who wanted to watch season 2 but don't remember what happened in season 1. One is new people who've now got into streaming and they're like, oh okay, so what is Witcher? So AI is able to create a season 1 recap within minutes, which is something that takes a lot of manual effort.
Correct.
Or in the post-production process in media and entertainment, AI is now able to do a review and approval, which was not possible, which was once again very manually intensive. So this has sort of been the overall impact of AI and M&E. It's still a threat to some people because of the creative capabilities, but I don't think you should worry. I think AI is mainly here to sort of eliminate a lot of back-end processing and make content more accessible across the globe to various sorts of people, various strata of people. So, I'd say overall it's having a lot of positive impact, but the licensing part of it needs to sort of be cleared out with all these corporations or content owners, as we call them.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about Friends, have you guys noticed that? I don't know, when we started watching Friends. I sound like an old person, but when we started watching Friends, we used to watch those whole. I don't know if you guys remember, but there used to be the whole episodes of Friends, particularly about
Yeah.
27 to 30 minutes, which included a lot of like side jokes, which was like hilarious. But ever since it's gone on Netflix, the episodes have been trimmed down to like almost 20-21 minutes. I
23
don't know if it
minutes,
Yes.
yeah.
does it bother you guys. I'll be watching the show nowadays, and there'll be an obvious joke that I'm waiting for because I know we've seen it multiple times, and it's just not there in the cut. So do you guys find that annoying as well, or is just me being a little anal?
I think this is Tanoy's grandfatherly instincts kicking in, hamare zamane mein. But for people who've seen it, of course, it'll be annoying because we know it by heart. Like not only Friends,
Yeah.
other shows, but for
But I
people who've never
get,
seen it, it doesn't matter.
but this is what bothers me,
I
in the
don't think
sense
this
that
has anything to do with AI.
no, it doesn't.
It's
Doesn't.
this is I think more your
Yeah.
your personal,
No,
like your fan, the fan of Friends
yeah.
really talking.
I'm not talking. I know there's nothing to do with AI. It's just a general sort of irritation that I have since we started talking about this topic, in the sense that I understand why Star World. For those who don't know Star World, you guys should look it up. But essentially, Star World used to cut down the 29 minute episodes to 21 minutes because they needed 9 minutes to show advertisements. And they used to show it in like 4 minute, 2 segments. Where we used to be, millennials used to be able to go to the loo, get a drink, stuff like that, and then come back and watch the rest of the episode. Netflix does not need to do that. So just show the whole 27, 28 minute episode.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm going to take up. I'm going to pause everyone here before we go down nostalgia lane.
Yeah.
We're going to like usher everyone back into topic.
Yeah.
And but this time we'll start with Tanoy actually. So like we spoke about AI in the industry, and
Yeah.
yes, we did touch upon how it sort of impacts the industry, positive, negative. That's for us to see.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to a level lower than that, so at an industry level, okay, it's having an impact. At a role level, I mean, see, there's a lot of layoffs happening in the market. A lot of people are attributing this to AI. Some people are attributing it to companies' investments in AI, which they hope to pan out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why they're sort of cutting people costs. But on
Correct.
ground reality, agency, in the agency world,
Mm-hmm.
is AI going to be impacting roles, or how are roles sort of going through an evolution because of this?
So I think there is, I think on a role, actually, the major impact I would say AI is having in the MSME space is on the roles on a micro level. Okay, because I think on an industry level, everybody will adjust. It
Okay.
when it comes to the basically the people in the respective job roles, if they are not able to adapt, okay, uh, they will lose out.
Okay.
And unfortunately, what I am seeing with my clients, I think I was in a meeting, okay, a couple of weeks ago, where I was talking to a client where I was telling them, that we are bringing in a lot more sort of we're introducing a lot of agentic AI to sort of automate busy work. So that basically results for you guys in much faster turnarounds from our side. We'll be able to sort of and for we can spend more time on strategy for you guys, coming up with more unique ideas, stuff like that. And I mean, this client is also in the MSME space only, like they're a niche company in a sector, working in the US. So I was in this meeting with a client, where I was talking to them about, I was telling them about how we are introducing agentic AI into our workflows to automate busy work. So that basically results in much faster turnarounds for the client. We are also, that ensures that we are spending more time in more strategic work, more thinking, so to speak, to give better outcomes, and to give more creative outputs, so to speak. That's essentially what I was discussing. And I mean, the client also that I have, basically this person I was pitching to, is also kind of in the MSME space. And he was basically just, countering me on the fact that, oh no, what is AI? It is just a fad. Uh, you know, um, there were chatbots before also. There are now chatbots now. What are these? What is the difference in these agentic chatbots? And so to speak, no, everything is going to be done by humans only and stuff like that. And I think that is the biggest danger to roles. This
Okay.
attitude is the biggest danger to roles moving forward. If you want to live in that denial that, okay, AI is just a fad and nothing is going to happen, everything is going to continue as is, those are the people who are going to lose out the first
Fair.
and lose out the most. Okay. And the people who are able to understand what is happening, accept it, and pivot quickly, are the ones who are going to really benefit from AI. So that's essentially what I want to talk about overall in the all the roles in the MSME space. Coming to your particular question, let's take it from a marketer's perspective. All of us are
Yeah.
marketers, right?
Yeah.
So I think what is going to definitely happen is that, what 80%, basically 80% of the time, that the tasks that take up 80% of our time as marketers, let's say for example, it could be either copywriting or copy sort of editing, okay, for our clients, copy that we are putting out for particular products or services for our clients, or for ourselves for that matter, or sort of just going through sort of visuals, keeping the keep basically putting out visuals that are essentially related to these things. Or let's say for example, personalization, consumer insights, or let's say generating, automating busy work. Okay. Here is where our reliance on sort of copywriters, on designers will reduce. There's often that frustration that, from as a marketer perspective, I understand the brand, but does my designer understand the brand? Does my
Right.
copywriter understand the brand? And
Right.
are they able to produce that level of that alignment? Are we able to align with the brand and then produce essentially whatever the creative asset is? That has always been a challenge. That is gone now, because I know, as the marketer, as I said, say a brand manager, if I am a brand manager and I know exactly what the brand says, what the brand insight is, I can sort of produce a lot of these things on my own. How the marketing role, I mean, we are all marketers over here in different domains. So marketing role is going to change in the sense that we are going to have to become more data driven orchestrators and strategists, as opposed to actual executioners. Okay, who are executing, not executioners, sorry, executing people who are executing essentially the you know
Disclaimer,
basically.
guys, we are not killing anybody.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So essentially, what we used to focus on time, which took up a lot of time, was basically collaborating across our creative teams, ensuring alignment between the client and, let's say, for example, the creative teams, in the sense of copywriters, designers. You have the marketing, you have the brand, essential where the brand needs to be, right? But the challenge used to be getting your creative team and the client to sort of understand that that's essentially where your brand needs to reach, right? But a lot of 80% of your time gets consumed by all this sort of busy work that is there, right? AI is going to help you basically reduce reliance on creative teams for marketers specifically,
Okay.
and be able to sort of produce all this, a lot of it on your own. You're going to be able to automate your busy work, like reporting tasks, stuff like that. And your role a role as a marketer will change, become more strategic in nature. The more unique insight you are able to give from the data that your AI has thrown at you, that is where your value as a marketer will lie.
No, fair.
Uh,
And I back that actually. So there's this friend
Correct.
of mine who's joined, very interestingly, a marketing role at a VC.
Okay.
So I mean, I knew that VC firms do hire for such roles, but I thought he was marketing the venture capital firm, which he's not. What they're
Okay.
basically doing is whichever pre-seed, early stage startup the venture capital firm backs up, this person goes in as their marketing head.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the VC is using him as a resource
Mm-hmm.
to sort of enhance marketing for the companies they are backing.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that they don't sort of hire a lot of folks. He goes in, he maybe puts out hiring posts for a couple of important roles, but in terms of image generation for posts, in terms of write up, copy, all of that is something he does purely using AI.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it struck me as a turning point in the industry is because the firm is putting money into a startup, and the firm putting money is okay to using AI to this extent. They feel it'll still work because they are
Correct.
not interested in the exact copy, because that can always be tweaked by this guy. What they're interested is in the strategy he brings to the table.
Yeah.
Once, say, you have 10 posts ready, if like you said, the busy work, creating 10 posts, if it took me 3 days, now it'll take me maybe 1 day after
Mm-hmm.
tweaking using AI, and the remaining 2 days is in the strategy and capturing the niche that the company is going after.
Absolutely. So I think what marketers' main jobs are going to become, it's going to become creative strategy and brand storytelling. That's going to become more of that, needs to become more higher percentage. It needs to take off of your day. It needs to take your basically oversight and curation is going to become even more important, because there'll be a lot of assets being produced through AI. But you as the marketer will still have to require provide that oversight and curate. Okay, this is aligned to our brand. This isn't aligned to our brand. This requires more editing to basically align to our brand. This is how essentially what the direction we are taking for this product. That's the sort of role a marketer is going to have to take. Okay,
Okay.
and there'll be more time for experimentation, which and innovation, which is something that marketers don't get enough time for. So this is now basically, so that's what I'm excited from a marketing perspective, that there will be a more, we can hope to see more risk taking when it comes to sort of marketing strategies, ad campaigns, stuff like that. So that's essentially from a marketer's perspective is what I can say. But yeah, go ahead, Akshan. What are you saying?
No, I was saying fair, and I thought that if that's what's happening at a agency marketing MSME
Mm-hmm.
level, and
Mm-hmm.
this is the sort of roles that are sort of going to be impacted. I think what I understand from what you're saying is this sort of industry is going to do much better with the advent of AI because they're going to figure out ways to work with it and sort of meet their cost restraints.
Yes.
Conversely though, I don't know. I might be wrong, and I'll wait for Akash to weigh in on this. What I feel, Akash, is that this is not true for larger corporations. What I've been seeing as a trend is they've been going down a different route. They are, while of course they want to work with AI, and Microsoft Copilot, was like the name of the agent they released, and they wanted to ensure that you work alongside digital labor. But the larger corporations in tech are so people intensive today. They have a lot of manual work going on, and is this the same trend you're seeing there? Is it a co-worker trend, or is it actually leading to a lot of roles becoming redundant and people having to reinvent themselves?
I think the theme is the same as what Tanoy was talking about. So,
Okay.
You've got Microsoft that has just laid off, I think, 3% of its workforce just a couple of days ago, 6,000 folks, all in the software engineering and like product management, product marketing, that category of jobs and roles. And you're right. Like, I mean, the general, I guess, if I had to summarize what Tanoy said in 2 lines, is that AI literacy is becoming extremely important. And that for product marketing, right, it's basically a tool for research, analysis, and implementation, right?
Okay.
And so that's true. I think even at Dell, at Microsoft, Amazon, any big corporation that you name it. What's really happening is that organizations are becoming increasingly leaner with the productivity enhancements that AI is bringing,
Okay.
right? So Tanoy talked about like how you can use it for content creation, in a B2B setting, you can use it for sales enablement. All of that, right, is something that, let's say, a product marketer would spend a day, 2 days, 3 days out of their week, maybe, right, spending a couple hours every day and building, right? Now, Gen AI can basically do it in a couple of minutes. You spend maybe half an hour to optimize it. We've talked about this before. And then you push it out, right? So the theme remains the same, right? The strategic work, the softer skills, the problem solving skills, all of that becomes increasingly important. As regardless of, I think, whichever industry you're in, whether it's big tech or it's small micro cap businesses or something else entirely, right? And so what's really going to happen, I think, down the line is that there's going to be a little bit of consolidation of roles. So let's say technical product managers will merge with a role like product engineers. Or for that matter, because of the productivity enhancements, a product marketer who's typically responsible, or a product manager who's typically responsible for a single product or one product line, will now be responsible for multiple different product lines, right? So the ratio of a marketer or a manager to engineers or other people in the org is going to significantly change. It'll become from one to one to many.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So I have a question here. We spoke about in episode 2 about how particular roles, basically when they're new in their sort of organization, they sort of evolve by sort of basically creating sectors within that particular domain, and then essentially more roles spring out of sprout out of that central role. So let's say, for example, how you're talking about how product marketing originally was a product manager's job only, but as the product manager role evolved, is how product marketer became a separate role in itself, right? So do you think that with the help of AI, do you think that AI essentially, with cause of AI, those roles will sort of start being put back together into sort of a single guy handling product managing and product marketing? Or do you think that essentially those roles will remain the same, but essentially they'll just be handling way more volume of work?
I think that depends on the company strategy.
Okay.
I can't say for everyone, right? But those are definitely the two paths that any company can adopt. I think personally, for a smaller company, it's going to be potentially one role managing both things. And this again leads back to what we discussed in episode 2, where there are a large number of product lines in a larger company as opposed to a smaller company. And so that's where the distinction will, I think, remain. And it's just like one product marketer handling multiple more things, versus a product manager doing both product marketing and product management. That's just my view, right?
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it.
Aakash coming in the papers and people running after him. But
we're going to hold him specifically responsible.
We should
5 years down the line, we're like, you said this.
We should take a snippet and attribute it to Aakash Borwankar and put it up as a part of the description of this podcast.
Correct.
But what I feel though is, to answer your question, Tanoy, I don't think these roles will be recombined. Because what I feel is, now that, say, taking the same example, product marketing and product management, and I've met a lot of people in both these roles, and more than the fact that they're able to get more with AI, you'll be able to get more work done. It's about the mentality of how these roles have evolved. So product managers effectively are now looking at development of the product. They're sort of coordinating with your engineering dev teams. They're looking at development of the product. They are trying to incorporate user feedback, understand where the market is going, doing a certain amount of competitor analysis. And I know product marketers also will say we're doing the same thing. But in the difference that I've noticed, product marketers are now more focused on figuring out what the roadblocks are for users of that product. While product managers are more focused on figuring out what the roadblocks are in the product itself, what is not letting it perform to an optimal capacity. So say when it comes to new feature development, that might be a feedback that comes from a product marketer. But when it comes to the best way to develop that feature, or whether that feature can include something else, it's your product manager. And more, I feel product managers are required to have a certain amount of technical understanding so as to become like a level of cross-questioning for your engineering dev teams, the why of what you're doing. And this also ties down to the fact of how AI is being used. So what people are saying is, because of AI, we're becoming lazy. We're not optimizing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was 64 KB sort of memory chip that sent us to the moon. Yeah. And today my laptop with like a 16 GB RAM will cry if I'm trying to run a very heavy application on it.
Yeah.
So I think what product managers are also supposed to do is optimize the product to ensure that its utility is good. Product marketers are supposed to listen to intent signals, buyer signals, talk to the market, and understand why the product should go in a certain direction.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, a little bit of a difference. And I think these roles will remain segregated. But because of AI, say if a product marketer, like you said, has a copywriter, a designer, a couple of other digital marketers working under them to push the product, those sub roles might get eliminated. Similarly, for product managers, sub roles might get eliminated simply because people will say, hey, you know what? You can do XYZ using AI. You focus on strategy, but you don't need a whole person sitting in the room to help you with whatever other tasks you have.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I feel we're heading towards, and actually I've seen that. So I'm once again I'm going to pull back the conversation a little bit towards the media and entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So there are a few roles. These are not creative roles. These are back end post production roles where people process the content, which are being affected. So there's something called, basically, if you take a shot of a certain scene, there are multiple shots that encompass that scene. And sometimes there's take two, take 54, take 105, God knows, you'll have multiple takes for the same thing. And then what has to be done is usually the director will sit with the lead editor. They will look through all the scenes and decide which is the best one to put into the final cut. But you might like something like maybe you like the sunlight from scene one and you like the actor's costume from scene three, and it has got interchange between scene one and scene three, and you want both of those. So originally, people had to sit and scrape through hours of content. Nowadays, in the media industry, you have something called AI review and approval, which I mentioned earlier as well, which basically the AI can take multiple scenes, compare them within minutes, and give you the nuance differences between each screen. And not just obvious ones like, oh, the character t-shirt is red here, green there. It can give you zoom differences. It can give you color grading differences. It can point out the smallest differences between the two scenes.
Yeah.
And that makes it much faster for, say, a assistant to a director to sit, choose the best scenes and give it up for review to the director, saying, you know what, these are the final scenes, you can choose. So
Yeah.
this process used to take weeks, and today this process is actually completed in days. And I know this for a fact is because it's something that has been implemented for clients with my company, and that's quite crazy. Similarly, there is something where basically highlights creation for matches. Say an IPL match happens, or an NBA match, or a Premier League match happens. The highlights originally used to come up maybe the next day. And this is after the team sits the whole night, scrapes through hours of content, and figure out the best highlights of the matches. Like for Premier League, they'll figure out the goals, the fouls. For a cricket, they'll figure out the sixes, the fours. All of that is being done near real time today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we see it on Geo Hotstar. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
within half an hour, there's a highlights package already.
Exactly,
Up. Yeah.
exactly. So that youngster Vaibhav Suryavanshi, he scored 135 balls. Before the match ended, you could see the highlights of the 100 being scored on Geo Hotstar.
Yeah, correct.
So that's GeoStar. Oh my God, the number of lawsuits you're going to get into. Anyway, so my point being that AI is eliminating those manual roles. And so these low-level editors, or for that matter, color graders, or voice artists who do like very, very minimalistic work, will not find a place. And this is not like a doomsday scenario. It's just that these sort of roles are no longer required. And then you have the other end of the spectrum as well. So you have roles that will go away, but at least as of today, all these content owners have something called an acceptable level of accuracy. So you'll see AI is being used in, say, generating captions for YouTube, but you will not see the same for a Marvel movie. Because a Marvel movie is premium content, it has to have 100% accuracy. There can be zero errors, absolutely zero errors in the subtitles or in the closed captions for accessibility. And here is where you will require these artists that still work. Or for that matter, if I do a AI voiceover, sometimes they make some mistakes or some words are not clearly pronounced. That will not work for a movie like an Oppenheimer. That will not work for a show like a Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So there is an acceptable level of accuracy below which AI is going to be used, and the people who work in those roles are in jeopardy. But there is a acceptable level of accuracy above which people are still going to be used for premium content,
I
and
agree.
that's not going away anytime soon.
I think it's something that I can relate to what we're seeing in the MSME industry as well. Specifically, let's say we rely a lot on video editors, for example,
Right.
for producing content for ourselves, for our clients, etc. Right. So, I mean, what would take just from a time and a cost perspective, what would take, let's say, for example, let's take this podcast episode which is being shot right now, right, to edit this and then have it repurposed into multiple frames for, let's say, YouTube, for shorts, for those audio only channels, stuff like that, it would easily take 2 to 3 weeks easily for one episode. Okay, in before today, because there's auto editing and cuts, right? Automatically cuts, auto editing happens again up to an acceptable level. There is a human intervention required at some point,
Right.
but AI gets it around 80% right now. Okay, same for, let's say, for example, color grading, audio enhancement, stuff like that. Again, you, instead of you painstakingly sitting and doing color grading for each and every frame across the channel, stuff like that, for a video, now AI will give you around 80 to 90% accuracy. You can just basically come ahead, do a little bit of manual audio tweaking, a little bit of color correction, you're done, right?
Exactly.
So essentially, your junior level video editors, stuff like that, either I see that essentially them getting replaced in larger organizations. Okay. And sort of this being, again, like we are seeing similar theme what Aakash was talking about, that we will see a few video editors handling way more projects now, simply because it's become faster. So obviously there will be attrition over there, right? But let's say, for example, when, because of these automated tasks happening again and again and being sort of can be now just automated, the busy work, so to speak. But what will be basically what will still be a requirement, okay, and what video editors can potentially pivot to, right, is essentially storytelling, and sequencing now becomes very important. The Geostar essentially, I think in one of the highlight packages for an IPL match which I was watching, okay, Ajinkya Rahane scores a 50, okay, at a particular timestamp, okay, and at the next timestamp, the partner whoever he was batting with hits a six. But if you take a look at the score, at that time, Ajinkya Rahane is still on 49. So essentially, this is sort of the limitations of AI that still has, and it requires curation and oversight from a human
Right.
still. So that is
Right.
what a very good example of a limitation for AI. So basically, for video editors, people, they'll have to improve their storytelling skills. They'll have to, how can this, all these things, yes, AI is doing all my busy work, but essentially, what is the overall big picture? What is the video? What is the movie? What is the overall big picture? And what are we trying to communicate? What's the point? What's the
Fair.
climax? Right?
Fair.
What do we want the audience to feel when they watch this? This sort of thinking is going to become very important for video editors, right? Overall creative control, style of the, how, what kind of style shot should be there, how should they be edited, right? What kind of cut should be brought in, okay? So instructing the AI that I want these kind of cuts, this is essentially where the video editors are going to require. And again, like we said, quality check from my example. And like, this is a very good example of somebody who's already pivoted. Like, I was in a AI agent webinar a few days back, and they were talking about one of their students who was a photo, like he used a studio, like for e-commerce, he used to do these profile shots for products and stuff like that. He took on this agentic AI course, and he's now produced an agent that essentially replicates essentially what he used to do. So you can come in, you can say, for example, put in your products, put in like transparent photos or taken on your iPhone or something like that, and just upload it onto the drive, and the product will now produce multiple backgrounds for your products. Whatever kind of backgrounds you want, the agent will sort of prepare it for you, generate it for you, and put it in the back, right? And then you can choose to sort of have a little bit of human intervention and stuff like that also. So that's essentially a good example of how to pivot and remain relevant in your particular role in the future. Yeah.
Oh, fair point. Fair point. And yeah, so it's not all gloom and doom.
Yeah.
I was
There
just
will
thinking
be,
that.
yeah, there will be roles that will be eliminated. But I think, like I said before, it's happened in the past. AI is another cycle of new tech or a new way of working coming in, where there are roles like for example, people keep talking about the postman, going out of this because the email came in. People don't want to write letters anymore. So while that sort of while that sort of churn will happen in roles, I think AI will also lead to a lot more new roles. Prompt engineering has become a thing, for example, and I'm sure we'll be able to see a lot newer roles coming up, which people can then upskill for. It's about more about the willingness, like Tanoy pointed out, to pivot rather than the worry that whatever I do will not be relevant anymore. It will be relevant, maybe just in a different shape and form. So, talking about a different perspective of looking at your roles now that AI is there, another question I have, and I think this is very interesting because it's always meant to be a very human-driven role. What are we seeing when it comes to sales and AI? How is that being impacted? Is there a positive, negative impact? That is something I'm really curious about because I have not kept up with it.
I think for sales, I think it's a very exciting time because it kind of AI is actually sort of automating uh, tasks that are considered really frustrating
Okay.
by salespeople. Okay, and it will and it's reducing the time of the so to speak busy work that takes up 80% of a salesperson's job.
Okay.
For example, doing lead research, prioritizing which leads to go after, right? Sitting and updating your CRM. Okay. How sitting and drafting cold communication, any sort of outreach communications, right? And just basically, giving guidance, training, whether it's internally to other salespeople, whether it's to clients, that kind of stuff, right? A salesperson's job, majorly, this is 80% of what it takes up, right?
Right.
uh, AI is automating all this essentially. Okay, AI can sort of do your lead research prioritization based on an ICP that you feed in. Okay, it can help you find relevant leads ASAP. It can basically help you draft out relevant communication, outreach communication to these people, and it can help you even personalize it so that basically the person you're reaching out to does not feel as if it's like just a sort of mass communication that has been sent across to you. It's a specialized communication sent particularly to you, right? Even like now a lot of automation when it comes to sort of updating your CRM and stuff like that, as opposed to
Right.
sort of just being done like that. And of course, with guidance and training, AI can help you all that. So what this does for salespeople is it leaves time for the what actually sales is about and more exciting aspects of sales. For example, actually building a relationship with your client. You have way
Right.
more time to do that, right? You can also sort of, it gives you more time and more sort of creative and divergent thinking to basically build more complex, more creative deals which are mutually beneficial for you and your client, right? And essentially it also sort of gives you more time to engage in negotiation and persuasion. So let's say, for example, nowadays salespeople basically they don't have time. They have to they have so many people to reach out to, that essentially even if the first no they receive or the first sort of hesitation they receive, they move on to the next person. But chances are that person just needs to be sort of persuaded a little bit more. There's a little bit of negotiation required, right? What a salesperson originally's job was, they were good at negotiating and they were good at persuading, right? So salespeople will sort of have to sort of refine back to that, and they'll have more time to also do it and stuff like that, right? And overall create a problem solving for customers. So I think for salespeople, I know there are these SDRs being created, AI SDRs, which are called AI sales development representatives,
Yeah.
which are basically doing this. But again, those AI SDRs also are basically there to sort of automate this 80% of the busy work. So you're still going to require humans to sort of do the rest of the sort of persuasion, negotiation, relationship building, which I mentioned. So I think
Yeah.
good time for the
On,
sales team.
on the flip side, though, maybe glass half empty sort of perspective, is one, there's generally a little bit of inertia with technology adoption, right? So it's that cycle has gotten shorter, no doubt. Like, computers, when they were introduced, it took a while before they were as widespread as they are today. With the rise of the internet, again, that cycle reduced. We even had the dot-com bubble. That's a different thing altogether. So there is, before AI becomes as effective as we're talking about today in all these different roles, right? We're still a couple of years out, no matter how refined the models really get. Now, coming to sales specifically, right? I'm talking about in a larger B2B, a big tech sort of a setting where there's always pressure on sales, right? They have to meet their quota. They have to reach out to so many different customers. And you're right, like there's all of those operational elements which they really don't have the patience for, but it's part and parcel of their job. If AI comes in and automates a lot of that operational element, there is going to be more pressure on them for conversion. There's going to be a higher quota. There's going to be a more number of customers or accounts assigned to them, right? And so you're right, like they'll get to focus on the things that they do best. But it also means that, like all the other roles that are really coming in, where they're, like for product managers and product marketers, more product lines. For sales, they'll be in charge of more customers or more accounts. And I'm not really like sure whether a salesperson would really enjoy that part.
But that's a good perspective. That's a very good perspective. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
No, probably not. They won't. I mean, nobody likes their targets for the year being raised. And also, I think high touch roles, I'm calling them high touch because you have a lot of human contact in these roles, require you to spend time regardless of what you're automating in the backend. If a client wants to come and speak to you, or if you have to go and speak to a client, even if I am automating everything before and after the meeting notes, the follow-up actions, they still want to speak for that much time. And there's something very essential that AI cannot take away. There's something, one of my mentors had told me very early on in my career, that the reason people last in roles for very long, or the reason people end up working for very long, beyond a certain point, is because work forms a different social circle for you. So you can automate everything. You can eliminate as many people as you want. But it cannot lead to isolation of a person, because if it leads to isolation of the individual, they'll just leave. You need to have that social circle, and whatever AI is able to do, that's great. But I concur with you, Aakash, when you say that you can automate as much as you want, but at the end of the day, when it comes to roles such as sales, you still need that human interaction, because it's like Tanoy said, it's the relationship crafting that will come into the fore. And say if I was spending 1 hour on building the relationship now, with 1 hour of back-end work, if I'm getting 2 hours, I'll still spend time on building that relationship, maybe even better. So it's yet to be seen. But then that brings me to the question that when we are saying a lot of this back-end sales work is getting automated, I think when it comes to sales enablement, when it comes to design and copy of proposals, and Tanoy, this is a question to you. I think a lot of that also, I've been seeing about how this one person took their Google Notes from, the Meet, put that into a proposal creation mechanism and got a proposal created. So what about copywriters? What about designers who usually work on this? They seem near redundant to me in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I think I expected this episode to be a little bit gloomy. But so far, I think whatever we have spoken about has been pretty good, in the sense that we've just ended up speaking about a lot of sort of evolutions roles will take, but nothing that will basically become completely sort of redundant. But I think copywriters and designers are need to be worried, I feel. I mean, this is something that I saw this Instagram story from one designer that I follow. She's an illustrator. And essentially, she put up a thing where basically, she's established in the industry. It's not like she's a fresher or something like that. And that day, she got approached by a team, by a company and she was complaining about this on her Instagram story, that how they paid her, they offered her, okay, we love your illustrations, we'll pay you like some 100 rupees or something like that per illustration. Okay, and this is a person with good around 10-15 years of work ex. So she put it up, but essentially this is actually a reaction to the fact that when I can go on chat gpt, and if I know what kind of illustrations I want for my website, I want it for my video, I want it for whatever I require it for, what kind of whatever this, if I can put in the prompt into chat gpt and mid journey, and they will produce the this in 10-15 minutes. And let's say for example I can do iterations in 5 minutes after that. Do I really need a designer who basically will take a week so to give me the same output, right?
Exactly.
Or when it comes to copywriting, I mean, for let's take it from we're all marketers. Suppose let's say for example I want to produce a Google Ads copy, right? And I want to sort of basically I require multiple iterations for different ICP targeting and stuff like that. I required a copywriter to sit down and give me multiple variations for the next 2 days, for
Right.
example. I can do it myself with a chat GPT plus subscription, saying that okay, these are my ICPs, this is basically the target audience, this is essentially the product, this is the service, this is the offer, in AIDA format, please produce 5 iterations for Google AdWords, and I think in the next 2 minutes I'll have it. So I think to do spread a little bit of gloom, designers and writers need to be worried specifically, and they need to. I think it will come back to overall what we were talking about, the agency perspective, that how agencies rely on this sort of manual work so far for majority of their copy, but they designers and writers are going to have to pivot into more strategic roles. They are going to have to focus basically not sitting and producing the first draft of a copy, but essentially taking that AI content and essentially producing that to align with a brand or align with a particular story that you're attempting to tell, keeping in mind what you want your audience to feel. That sort of strategic element, that sort of creative element is what copywriters are now going to have to focus on, right?
Right.
Same for designers. Something in one space where I think designers still have a little bit of this is logo creation. Like creating logos requires that sort of creative thought, that unique thought, how to blend your for example how to blend particular shapes, or basically use different sort of font styles to sort of produce a very unique logo. That is something AI is still not yet caught up to. Like, I mean, if you go to these logo generators and try out logo, it's shocking. Essentially they'll ask you to choose certain sort of styles, and then using those styles they'll modify it a little bit and give it back to you. I mean, that is something designers still will have sort of this. But yes, you will see designers moving into more sort of creative director roles. That is essentially what is required by designers if they are able to sort of pivot and sort of acclimatize. Else, otherwise, designers will have quite a bit of problems. Come take UX designers, take more sort of specialized roles. Um, Chat GPT can produce uh, say 10 different iterations of a landing page based on what conversion and ICP that I require, right? It will require a UX designer to not sit down in Figma and actually produce the UX landing pages or the interface designs. They'll have to pick up from different iterations and produce one or two sort of iterations finally, which will basically be completely user experience optimized. So that is essentially some gloom, basically some ray of hope. But these two roles need to be worried, in my
Right.
opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Siddhant, I have a question. Okay. Uh, I have been reading recently that, I mean, we're talking about MNE, we talked about how the writer strike happened. I actually also read about this lawsuit which is going on right now, where prominent like singers and stuff like that, like Dua Lipa, are actually sort of petitioning to sort of put certain protections made into law against
Right.
AI, which is going on right now, I think, in the States, right? But from a sort of these big production houses, right? Um, I read that they are also now having like these in-house AI sort of committees. Do you have any idea about what those are exactly? Are they to facilitate more AI this, because that goes against the whole strike and stuff like that? But like, what is exactly the point of these AI committees?
So actually, for example, Disney has this. Disney has an in-house AI committee, and these committees right now are being formed as a stopgap solution.
Mm-hmm.
Their entire function is not well defined.
Mm-hmm.
But if by chance, say for example, Disney is working with a localization vendor, or Disney is working with someone who's going to do VFX for them, if that vendor by mistake says that we use AI powered solutions, the first thing Disney will do is involve this committee. It'll make the buy time a lot longer because the committee will vet everything AI that you do. And actually nowadays vendors have sort of, when they go to these content owners like an NBC or Peacock or Disney, they talk about automation. They don't talk about AI as openly. I'm sure they will. It's a matter of time, but they don't, simply because there is a certain ethical and a certain regulatory concern regarding AI. And this has hit the M&E industry very hard. Like I said, this led to the strikes also, simply
Mm-hmm.
because there are three main things that lead to this concern. One
Uh-huh.
is, all these LLMs have been trained on models that have gotten all this M&E information without any explicit confirmation given by these content owners that yes, you can use our content to train
To
your
check
models.
train, correct.
Right? So that has become a problem, and digital rights management is becoming a huge thing. So
Uh-huh.
what actually a lot of companies are coming to us and saying is that we are okay if AI uses our models, but
Mm-hmm.
we want to sell it. We don't want to give it for free. It's a very corporate capitalist view that they've taken, that okay, AI is here to stay. So if you're going to use AI in our environment, we want it to be sandboxed. If you're going to use AI to train, if you're going to use our content to train your AI, we want to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first sort of gray area that's still being navigated. The second one is when it comes to these individual artists, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So artists are looking to lease out rights to their voice, lease out rights to their even for example digital clones, because they feel that okay, you know what, the art has originated with me. It's my personal style, my personal voice that you want to
Mm-hmm.
use it, that's fine, but once again you need to ensure that I am given due credit or royalty for it. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically like when a book is being adapted into a movie nowadays, the author gets royalty, right?
Yeah.
So this is similar to what the artists are demanding. They're saying, hey, you know what, you want to use our work, you want to use my talent to train your models, go ahead and do it, but then I demand royalty every time that model uses or showcases my talent.
Yeah.
And the third, I think, major concern that comes into this industry is how will you figure this out going forward. So say for example in Bangalore itself, in Karnataka, I'm not sure if it was in Bangalore, there was a film which was AI only.
Yeah.
Everything was created using prompts. And so is that what it takes? Is that just what it takes going forward? Will I just need a very creative prompt engineer and I'll say, hey, I want Amitabh Bachchan's voice, or I
Mm-hmm.
want Scarlett Johansson's acting, and this is the movie, this is the plot, this is scene one, scene two, everything. Feed it into a LLM and get an output. And how are you going to claim? Who's going to claim rights to it? How are you going to say that this is something that was created using XYZ's data?
Mm-hmm.
So, data protection, rights management, licensing is going to become very important in the media and entertainment industry going forward. Because at the end of the day, if people can just replace creative people using LLMs, then it's going to cause a major disruption. I personally, and I'll come to that later, don't feel that's how it will be going down. But that is the scare that exists today.
I mean, there's this very good. Actually, what you're talking about reminds me of this very good Black Mirror episode. I don't know if you guys have seen that, where basically there it's like, of course, Black Mirror is all about these dystopian futures. So
Yeah.
it's basically this random lady who regular who goes to office every day, has a husband, all these steps, goes to basically thing. Basically, in the you I agree to terms and conditions you take before when
Right.
you sign up for a OTT platform. Apparently, she signed away the rights to her entire life, and the AI surveyed her through her TV and stuff like that, and through all the various gadgets, and created a show based on her
Life.
what based on her life, and in her place cast Salma Hayek, an AI generated Salma Hayek, and basically created an entire show which went very viral. But neither did the person whose story it was based on, like, whose life it was based on, and did Salma Hayek get any royalties basis that they were just given, like, Salma Hayek was probably just given like a little bit of a fee to sort of, use her face or whatever, but essentially there were no royalties, nothing, and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
mean, this is of course a very extreme kind of situation, but yeah, it's
But
like a
yeah,
fear.
this is the fear that exists, that okay, you're going
Correct.
to use my talent without attributing any of it to me,
Correct.
and that's going to be a problem. But yeah, so that's the ethical concern, the regulatory concern in M&E. But I'm sure the concerns vary. So like, what are we seeing in tech, for example?
Yeah, because I think Aakash has been quiet for the last half an hour. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I need to find that opportune moment where I can interject. I feel like I'm sort of what's the phrase? Like a sort of a parrot radio where I just keep saying that no, it's not really that different. It's the same. But yeah, I mean, the truth is that the concerns are frankly universal.
Right.
It just contextually different, right? So in tech, or for that matter, rather any company, right? IP, proprietary information for that matter, is proprietary for a reason, right? Like it jeopardizes your competitive position if it's out there in the market. And so with these large language models, with Gen AI, that problem is the same. You have a lot of these public facing models like ChatGPT, the most popular of them all. And companies, especially when it came out, right, were concerned about employees going in and kind of using that to generate ideas for drafting their emails, for whatever, or even generating their code, because
Right.
two different problems. One, if you're putting in data which is like specific to products that have not even come out, right? What does that do to the answers that the model generates down the line for some other user who's not within the company?
Yeah.
Two, if you're using it to generate your code, then is it using, let's say, open source code to kind of and with your employees sort of copy pasting that, right? Are you putting open source code into your proprietary software, which is opening up a whole other can of worms for like legal issues, right?
Right.
And so that's like the proprietariness of that information is like a big concern, right? So what companies have started doing now is like creating these sandbox environments for their employees to play in. The way that I've seen it is, let's say you have Microsoft Copilot. Companies take something like that and then tell Microsoft that, hey, you need to create a setup where it can't access public information, and whatever information I'm putting in, my employees are putting in there, can't be used to train any other models outside of my company.
Okay.
Right? And so that's sort of one workaround that companies are leveraging in order to kind of mitigate against this sort of security and information concern.
Right.
And then there's also like, the ethical aspects to it. The output of any model is only as good as the raw data that's sort of going into training those models. So there are, in fact, new roles emerging about an ethical AI manager, for example, that's actually curating the information that's going into these training models and making sure it's free from bias, making sure the right resources are being used. Is it meeting all the regulatory compliances, so on and so forth, right?
Okay.
So there's that piece. And then the third concern, and this is frankly my personal concern more than it is the company's concern, is are we reaching a point now, or will we reach a point in the future where the reliance on Gen AI or AI as a whole, instead of allowing for AI assisted innovation, which we're seeing today, right? Like faster products to market, things like that. Are we actually instead risking innovation because we are looking at AI as a solution to our problem, right?
Becoming
So
lazier.
becoming lazier, right? So we talked about how roles would consolidate, how some lower skill roles would basically evaporate, but if we look at it from an engineering standpoint, I'm quoting Satya Nadella here in one of his interviews. He's saying he's estimating roughly 20-30% of all the code written in Microsoft is now being written by AI.
Right.
So that directly impacts the number of software engineers that are in the company, right? So are we going to reach a point where engineers won't be skilled enough to troubleshoot simple app issues? Or are we going to reach a stage where what you talked about, that human-centric knowledge that's there, that becomes more valuable, and so you have these specialists who are so much more valuable, who can bring so much to the table, but they're going to be just so few in number that they're going to command that premium.
So this is something. If you've read, there's this series by Isaac Asimov. Where he talks about Foundation, where he talks about the future. About how when humanity becomes a galaxy-spanning empire, and then that empire disintegrates, and there's just like this one sub part of it which keeps continuing with innovation. And one of the guys goes back to the original empire. He finds that one of the machines, which was probably like multiple stories, is now in his pocket. And that is spoiled, and the people in the empire don't know how to fix it, because they're like, it's always worked, it just stopped. So this is what I think came to mind when Aakash was talking, that because we are so reliant on AI, are we going to forget the basics, or are we going to forget how basic things work and not be able to even troubleshoot the simplest of problems?
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially what I talked about in our introduction, that which scenario are we heading towards? Basically, in the sense that we have scenario number one, where we are doing AI assisted innovation, but essentially we should not head towards scenario two, where we are become lazy, or we start losing skills.
Exactly.
And so to speak, become basically start getting sort of pushed out by sort of just AI generated everything is AI, and we personally start losing skills or whatever, essentially. So we should great, we are in scenario number one, but we should avoid heading towards scenario number two. So Aakash, I think very good point what you're talking about when it comes to sort of intellectual property, and specifically the confidential information that you put into sort of these into these LLMs, and essentially they are being used to train, or they're being stored into some server, right? For example, essentially it could be technically breaching confidential agreements or confidential information without sort of, or IP laws, without actually sort of really understanding, because you're just putting that information to ChatGPT to generate some sort of result, right? But you don't really think about what happens to the information that you're putting into it. So you did say very clearly that big MNCs can sort of tell Microsoft or tell Open AI that you guys create a sandbox environment for our workers to work with. But I think that is a risk with MSMEs, where MSMEs don't have the resources to be able to do that. So let's say, for example, MSMEs are utilizing we've talked all about for the last 2 hours almost about how MSMEs are improving efficiency, closing the gap to MNCs with the help of AI. But essentially, they are putting a lot of information into these LLMs to sort of generate results and to sort of improve efficiency, improve output. But I mean, there is a major sort of there are confidential concerns, I would say, about this, which MSMEs can't afford to sort of this. So I think that's where the sort of governance needs to come in, where we need updated IP laws. We need updated confidential information, and MSMEs very specifically need to sort of exercise that control internally, And I think that's where, that AI compliance officer role, one of these AI companies, is going to become very, very important, specifically in MSMEs. Those who are committed to sort of not crossing that ethical boundary.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah,
No, that
yeah.
makes sense. And I think sort of an international understanding around rules and laws encompassing AI will be necessary. We have it for a lot of other industries, and I think AI is becoming its own domain. It'll come sooner or later. I'm sure that will be put in place. If nothing else, then just to protect corporate greed. Someone will make sure it's put in place, to sort of protect their money.
Yeah.
But
I mean, historically, if you look at it, regulations have always been a little behind tech, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It took so long for Meta to abide to the EU laws, because the EU laws came in much later, after Meta grew to the size that it did. And so, I'm sure people are thinking about it, even as we speak today. But it's the wider adoption of AI that will kind of force these regulatory bodies to really start kind of moving into implementation mode.
No, absolutely. PII laws in India are still a joke. And it's regulated in so many parts of the world, but in India it's still a joke. People use personal information left,
Do we
right,
need
and
to
center.
censor some of this?
So it'll take time, but while that happens, I think what I'd like to hear pretty much from each of us is, like a final take, but a personal take. I don't want, we've seen where the industry is headed. We've also given information on what we have witnessed in our own lives, companies, environments regarding AI. But a personal take, like what we personally feel, if you were asked, where do you think AI is headed, or what is the state of AI and where will it end up? What would each of you want to say? And in the spirit of making sure that he gets enough representation, I'm going to go to Aakash about this first, saying, let's go with your take, bro.
Yeah. I think the way we're sort of heading today, especially, and focusing on some of the things we've spoken on in this podcast episode, there are, I think, two things that I really want to call out. Right.
Okay.
One, I think, is we're going to see a rise of generalists, for a lack of a better word. Right. So if you continue to kind of, like Tanoy gave that example of how one of the clients was talking about how AI is just a bubble, it's a fad, it'll go away. I think that's going to be a problem. So if you stay as a specialist, you work in your silo, it's going to inhibit your ability to grow. Right. AI is going to become increasingly critical for your day-to-day operations. And so what can you do? Obviously, aside from upskilling, is cross-skilling. Right.
Okay.
That will be really mandatory to succeed as both, frankly, as a company and as an employee. And then in that regard, expectations as a result will continue to rise, and people will start to need to do more with less. Right. And then the second part is really tying back to some of the things I spoke about earlier, is looking at AI as an enabler as opposed to the solution. Right. So with looking at it as an enabler, it'll allow you to really grow and innovate. But if you're looking at it to even kind of replace your ability to think, to generate really ideas without giving them more thought, then that's really going to lead to more stagnation and limit your growth as a person and as a professional. So those are I think my two I don't know, takes, if you want to call them doom and gloom scenarios, whatever you want to call them. But that's what I think.
No, makes sense. So, okay, we've got that from Aakash. So, Tanoy, over to you.
I'll break it down into who should be worried and who shouldn't. Basically, I think great time for MSMEs in general. Okay, great time for creators. Okay, AI will be that tool which will sort of help them sort of bridge the gap faster, grow more efficiently, provided they take the right steps, have better quality outputs as well. Okay, irrespective whether they're in manufacturing, retail, any sort of MSME, that essentially what it is, whichever particular domain within the MSME space that they are in. Okay, for same for creators as well. What is going to become very, very important in the person or entity who's going to come out on top is who is able to use AI effectively, but is able to sort of drive home unique human insight. Okay, throughout this thing are the ones who are going to win in augmentation with AI. If you're just relying solely on AI, you're just going to be one of many. So that's essentially what is one perspective that I definitely have. In the MSME space, people who should be worried, entities that should be worried, are agencies. Okay. Agencies rely, like I said, are very labor intensive. That's essentially where majority of their income comes in from. So how quickly they are able to pivot from execution partners to strategic partners is going to become very, very vitally important to their survival. That's essentially how vital that sort of pivot is going to have to be. It's going to have to be a fast pivot, and how they position themselves also as strategic partners in the market. Basically, because convincing somebody you're an execution partner is generally easier. Convincing somebody you're a strategic partner is more tougher. So that sort of positioning within the market. So agencies definitely need to be worried, and they need to sort of adapt very quickly. And within the job role, specifically within this sector, the two job roles that do need to be worried and do need to pivot quickly are designers and copywriters specifically, because they are the ones who are being disrupted the most, and the fastest as well. So they definitely need to. Good time for marketers, good time for sales, right? Yeah, essentially. But yes, and of course the legal and ethical risk that we have talked about when it comes to MSMEs. There's going to be self-regulation required. There's going to be laws required on a governance level. Yeah, so that's essentially what I would say. I would say good news for some, not so good news for others.
Fair. And well, coming to the media and entertainment industry, I think a lot of back end post production sort of work is going to go to AI. Not because of the fact that it's something people can't do. It's just because it can be done so much faster and with lesser errors, which is very important.
Yeah.
The capacity for human error in such roles is greater, and I think AI can outdo them. But when it comes to the creativity of the industry, I don't think AI can capture the soul of art. I think art in general, I read somewhere, is a circumstance of the human condition. So a good song, a good scene is something we relate to because of the pain or because of the love or the sheer emotion that the artist shows. And that's not going to go away at any point of time. Yes, it might lead to a premiumization, like Tanoy pointed out, of human content, definitely. But I think however much AI expands, however much it progresses, it should be used to close all these processing tasks, to close all these operational tasks. But art should be left to us, because at the end of the day, that is what we can relate to and enjoy to.
Yeah.
Enjoy with, sorry. So yeah, I think with this we come to the end of our third episode of the Market Pod. For anyone who is still there at the end with us, for you. But thanks, guys. I think we've had a fun sesh, and look forward to our coming episodes.
All right. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.